This past week, my aunt came to visit Marilyn and I in the Czech Republic.
We spent the first few days exploring Prague, eating loads of Czech food, and even listening to some live music.
On the third day of my aunt's visit, we all took a day trip to explore the small town of Český Krumlov. If you want to watch us explore Český Krumlov, you can click the link below for that video. On the fourth day of my aunt's visit, we all took a day trip to Terezin Concentration Camp. The concentration camp is only about an hour bus ride from the center of Prague.
This concentration camp was used as a prison for Jews, political prisoners, and many others during World War II. In its years of operation, tens of thousands were transported to Terezin, then to other camps like Auschwitz, where many were unfortunately killed.
If you're new here, be sure to press the subscribe button and click that notification bell to get awesome travel videos from Words with Winos.
We're going to the Terezin Concentration Camp in the Czech Republic, but we're not really sure how in the world we're supposed to get there. There's a bus at 11 and it's 10:30. Now we're going to take an Uber to get there, and then we have to find the bus that goes there. So this will be yet another fun adventure.
Yeah, so this video will either be us going to the concentration camp or it will be nothing in 5 minutes. We'll let you know.
We made it to the bus and it was actually surprisingly easy. We just took our Uber right to the train station and walked like, I don't know, 300 meters or something, and just followed signs, and then we're here. We're on the bus.
Yeah.
It was only like 100 crowns each, which is like $5.
Alright, so we have arrived at Terezin, which is the name of the area we're in, and we got off the bus about 5 minutes ago. Now we're walking towards the office because we bought tickets online, and we don't know if they give us a tour or anything, but we're walking there right now. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Views over here, spinning around.
After a 15-minute walk towards the information center, we arrived and came across the Terezin National Cemetery at its entrance. The cemetery is a memorial for all the victims who died at the Terezin concentration camp. We just got our ticket to go on the tour of the concentration camp, and we're waiting for the tour to begin. Our tickets included a tour of the concentration camp itself and entrance to the Ghetto Museum in town. During our tour, we walked around the entire camp and learned a lot of information about it. We first noticed this phrase on the archway that's typically found in most concentration camps from World War II, which means, "Work sets you free." Then we were shown various rooms, like the commander's office, which heavily contrasted the rooms where the prisoners were held. Within those rooms, there wasn't much but wooden planks where they slept. In this particular room, however, somehow, conditions were far worse. Around 60 people were continually crammed in this room. There was no room to lay down, so they all stood together and leaned on one another while they slept. There was obviously no room for a toilet of any kind. Instead, the prisoners were supplied with only a bucket in the corner. Prisoners very quickly became sick with illnesses like dysentery, and because of the close quarters and next to no ventilation, others grew ill as well. We walked some more and were shown some various other rooms, like where they changed their clothes, took showers, which often were with cold water, and even their so-called hospital. This hospital was continually crammed with ill prisoners. Since they were always overcrowded, more often than not, prisoners shared beds and laid on the floor. This tiny room served only one purpose: to hold the roughly 150 people who died every day in Terezin. Afterwards, the bodies were taken to the crematorium in town. Next to this room was the entrance to a tunnel. This tunnel is 500 meters long, which is approximately the length of 5 football fields. When prisoners were to be executed, they walked along this tunnel. We couldn't help but feel uneasy here. Our minds wandered to what the countless prisoners who walked through these tunnels must have felt, most likely knowing what waited for them on the other side. We emerged from the tunnel to be immediately faced with a shooting range and gallows. Although executions weren't committed often in this particular camp, they did still happen. Their largest mass shooting was near the very end of the war, where 52 prisoners were lined up against the wall and shot to death. The gallows were used rarely. They were only used to hang those who attempted to escape as an example to the rest of the prisoners. One remarkable thing about this camp was that after the war had ended, it was then used as a prison for Nazi officials. Ironically, the commander of this camp was a prisoner here, then later hanged for his crimes against humanity. We went to Terezin Concentration Camp, which actually turned out to be a prison where they held many, many Jews, and that was where they also shipped them to other concentration camps across Europe. And we learned a lot. We actually took a tour, and it was incredible and very eye-opening and extremely just very somber. And then after our tour, we went to the Ghetto Museum, where we learned a lot about the children that died and all the people that died as well. And it was a very emotional and depressing day, to say the least. Then we got some lunch and coffee and stuff. But yeah, even being in this town, it's like just really depressing, and it feels like there's just like an air about it that's just very depressing.